Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Lengua de la Liga. This is being recorded after match day 30, and we're going to bounce from game to game throughout this episode and cover all the teams and all the action that went down. There were a lot of upsets in La Liga this weekend. The one that's the most notable and most obvious, right, is the Real Madrid losing to Valencia, which we will get into that. But there were a couple other really surprising results and a couple absolute beatdowns that some I saw coming. And some everybody should have seen coming if you've been paying attention to La Liga, and others that took me a bit by surprise. So we're going to get into this, guys. If you like La Liga, if you enjoy the Spanish top flight, make sure you hit subscribe, drop a like on the video, and let's get straight into it. Should we do Real Madrid first, or should we do some of the other ones kind of warm up? We could do Athletic Club. We just saw that game.
Yeah, let's talk about that. We just saw that game, and plus, I think the crown jewel of today's episode is for sure that Real Madrid upset. I have a lot to say, but we'll talk about it.
All right, then we'll do Athletic Club 0, Villarreal 0. My hater take from this is I wish I didn't watch the game because it was terrible.
Weren't you hyping it up?
I was hyping it up. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Dude, 4 and 5 in La Liga going at it with Villarreal playing at home. I expected them to go for it more. Athletic Club, they kind of got to split their duties and responsibilities between La Liga and their quarterfinals matchup against Rangers. And I was like, okay, maybe Villarreal push it. They get a goal early. Athletic Club have to respond. Instead, Athletic Club kind of survived the opening 20 minutes where I thought Villarreal were actually kind of good. And then the game just died completely. Did you watch this one?
I did watch this one. Yeah. I watched only about like half of the first half, but I did watch the entire rest of the game, including the red card at the very end. Yeah. This game was weird, man. I didn't know how to feel about it. Like the amount of missed chances, the goal that got called back, obviously. And bro, how funny was it to see Barry celebrate that knowing that he handballed the shit out of it? Like he knew. There's no way he didn't know.
He absolutely knew.
And he still did the whole Archer celebration. I'm like, bro, it's going to get called back. You know this, right? Like, why are we doing this? I don't know, man. It was a weird game. But again, I think this game epitomizes the whole weekend for La Liga. Bro,
weird.
Not a single home team. Now there's one match to be played, right? Monday. There's Osasuna visits Leganes. So something can happen there. But I have a feeling it's going to end the rest of the way the rest of the weekend went, which was not a single home team won a game in match day 30. Not a single one.
That is insane.
Crazy, bro. Every single home team dropped points. Does not matter. We're talking about the Friday matches, Saturday into Sunday. We're waiting on one more, but it could be complete if Osasuna get at least 1 point at Leganes. And so I think with this, I was going into the game knowing that fact and thinking maybe it's destined for Bilbao to get all 3 points on the road at La Ceramica, which is huge. But I feel like this was the tale of missed chances on both sides. Bayana, I thought, played decently well. I thought Parejo actually played decently well in the middle of the park for Villarreal as well. But I don't know, man. I think you're right. After those first 20 minutes, it just felt like momentum couldn't get going either way. And bro, from the most shambolic place it came from, when I watched like what position was lacking the most, I think it was the wings attacking wise. I wasn't impressed with, I know he got hurt. His ankle got jacked up. Buchanan, someone who's, definitely a little more recent with the Villarreal, maybe still getting his feet wet to an extent. I don't think he completed a single cross. I could be wrong. Nico Williams on the other side of the field did the same thing. Could not complete a single cross. Got hooked in the 65th minute. I think the haters will say it was because it was a stinker and he got hooked, and it is what it is. I think some of that's also the fact that on Thursday there's a pretty big game coming up in Europe for Bilbao, and they'll probably save him for that a little bit. But there was nothing flashy about Nico today either. And this comes off the back of a week where there was a lot of rumblings around what him and his agent are demanding if he were to leave Bilbao and move on to Barcelona, to Arsenal, wherever it's going to be next season. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I agree with you. There should have been a lot of hype going into this game. And I remember you talking about it. But, yeah, man, this game was not it, man. This game was not it. After the second half, there really wasn't much you missed either way.
No, the second half was abysmal.
Yeah.
But now that you put that in a context where none of the home teams won, maybe this was a good result for Villarreal. That they didn't lose like some of the other teams that we're going to get into. I'm not going to discuss this game at length at all, but Girona lost to Alaves 1-0 at home through Carlos Vicente. And Girona, bro, just absolute
Trash.
frauds. That's literally all I want to talk about that team because they don't warrant the amount of screen time they get on this show. So we're just going to say Girona lost at home. Let's
Yes.
keep it pushing. Back to Athletic Club Villarreal. I have 2 bullet points for this game right in front of me. Number 1, I think this is a good result for Athletic Club. Keep it pushing. Period. We don't need to dress it up. They maintained their lead on Villarreal for 4th place. Nobody got hurt, and they got the draw away from home. So if anybody needed to come out and play and force the issue, it was Villarreal. They couldn't really do that. Hey, now we're looking at Rangers on Thursday. For Villarreal, I think I figured these guys out. I'm going to describe them in a way, and you tell me if this makes any sense. Villarreal are like you got a squad in Call of Duty, team deathmatch, and everybody's rocking SMG as the main, right? Bullets are flying everywhere, but you ain't got a sniper. Nobody's taking down the attack helicopter when it inevitably gets called in against you guys, right? You're getting spawn trapped like crazy, and nobody can aim. If you look at this team, it's just a bunch of guys out there who want to attack. They know how to attack, but they kind of lack the tools and the cutting edge to really do some damage. And I think that we've seen this over and over and over again. They're a high volume, extremely high wasteful team who didn't really make any adjustments in January. They brought in Tejan Buchanan on a loan, who is again an athletic specimen that can't cross and can't score. So they just added another SMG to the loadout in case one of the other ones isn't working. That's pretty much Villarreal.
Bro, that is spot on. And you know what's crazy about this? I love that you use the analogy too, because I'm a COD nerd. Kind of crazy for those who don't know at home. Yeah, bro, I'm a big COD nerd. I watch Pro COD at home.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're
bro, I'm locked in. I'm locked in.
You watch more Pro COD or La Liga?
No, La Liga, 1000%. But like I'm telling you, man, like when and there's international breaks. I know you're a big international guy. I'm not quite as big in the international scene, but whatever it may be, especially in the summer when there's not as much footy on, I'm locked in on Pro COD for those who don't know. And
more
I like
Serie
that
A or Pro COD?
Yeah, Pro COD, bro. It's crazy.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I hope I don't get no judgment.
All right.
It's wild. It's wild.
Hey, dude, no judgment over here.
A few weeks ago, I was at a Pro COD event here in Dallas that took place not too long ago. I was watching the pros play in person.
Now you've crossed the line.
I was there in an arena watching these dudes do their thing, wishing I was 10 to 15 years younger.
Hold on. Did you buy merch at the event?
I do have merch. I didn't buy merch at the event, but I do have merch 100%, bro. I got kits, I got t-shirts, hats, you name it, bro. I'm locked in. I love that analogy though, because like I use this in Pro COD all the time when I talk about it. And it's like, again, Villarreal being a team who I like the team deathmatch analogy. You buy a bunch of players, you bring a bunch of players in who are kill whores on the map. They know how to slay out and it looks sexy, but they can't play objective to save their lives. They don't understand the point of the game. It's to get on hill, it's to win the actual game, not just kill everybody on the map. And that's what Villarreal is, I think, to an extent, is like, you want this team to be good, bro. On paper, they have the attackers to actually be a good team. And on their day, you feel like there's going to be fireworks, just like we all thought this game was going to be on both sides. Man, this is a neutral fan's dream. As a Barcelona fan, I was watching this game like, okay, bro, I get to watch two teams who have a lot to play for. That final European spot, go at it. And it ends 0-0 with a stupid red card on Villarreal's side. Imagine what the home fans were thinking, bro. Like, I don't know, man. And again, I think putting that stat out there that I mentioned earlier, this felt like, for those who watch Major League Soccer at home, this felt like an MLS weekend. Like, you could never have predicted this. A 0-0 between Villarreal and Athletic Club. Girona pumping 4 in an away win. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, a little bit. None of two of the big three not getting the full 3 points and maxing out when there's a massive title race going on. It's just like, it's the most just the weirdest weekend ever for La Liga. And it felt like what I always say, being a massive MLS fan, the most MLS weekend of all time, where any prediction, any bet you might have made going into this weekend just got chalked out the window entirely. But
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
How much of that do you think, and when I say that, I mean kind of a lackluster weekend? Because honestly, it was a lackluster weekend from the fixtures you expected to be good. Now, there were other ones that nobody was going to watch, and they kind of popped off. We'll talk about Sociedad Las Palmas later. How much of that do you think is the fact 3 of the top 4 teams, 4 of the top 6 teams even in La Liga have massive games on Thursday, and we're deep into the season?
I think it's more that we're deep into the season. I don't want to say it's teams necessarily picking and choosing and prioritizing other competitions over La Liga. I think we're just at this point where teams are getting tired, especially the teams I'll just say the top 6, not even just the top 3, but the top 6. Yeah, some of that's European competitions, but even had they been knocked out, I felt like we may even still see a version of La Liga like we saw this weekend, where there were tons of upsets. If anything, this weekend also reinforced why you should watch this, bro. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the Premier League was so dry and boring this weekend. I could not be more thankful for all of the upsets we saw in La Liga this past weekend. Could not be more thankful for it. And so I don't want to drag the Prem too much, but there's a lot of value in what we saw in La Liga this weekend. And I think some of it is, competitions. But I think even then, Barca looked slow, static. Real Madrid looked slow, static, looked tired. And I think that it's more tired legs than it is Hansi Flick or Ancelotti or frankly any manager deciding, you know what, we're not going to come out and give it our all. We have a big match coming up in the middle of the week that we have to get ready for. I choose to believe that it's the former.
All right, I'm going to ask you something. You tell me which one of these is crazier. The fact that Real Sociedad have scored 2 goals or more in 4 consecutive games, or the fact that Espanyol beat Rayo Vallecano 4-0 away.
Espanyol. Not even close. Not even close.
Let's get into this. Let's get into this, bro. They had 1 win away from home all season before this match. And we've talked about many times how the Vallecas historically is kind of scary, but this season, dude, they're taking a lot of L's there. I think they played 15 games at home, Rayo, 5 wins, 5 draws, 5 losses. So there's like no Vallecas XP boost anymore, at least not this season. I don't know why that is. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But a massive freaking win for Espanyol. And my early shout at the beginning of the season that these guys are going to be firmly in 16th place. It's looking pretty good, dude. Y'all should have placed that bet when you had the chance.
I hate that. I hate Espanyol with a passion.
I know you saw that result, and it ruined your entire day.
Yeah, Friday was chalked, bro. I actually tuned into a little part of the game. What's kind of crazy was if you guys missed the first 15 minutes of that game, you would have already missed a lot of action. Vallecas historically is very difficult to play at. Bro, Vallecano is perfectly mid this season. You mentioned that record, which what was it, 5-5-5 at home?
5-5-5.
Which means that they're 5-5-5 on the road. This team is 10-10-10 through 30 weeks of La Liga so far. So when you look at what Rayo's trying to do, this season just feels weird. And maybe it's because there have been some players who've been in, out. I think back to James Rodriguez. And also, I think Rayo trying to be more relevant on the road. The last couple seasons, I've been critical of Rayo Vallecano in that, oh, great, the Vallecas is a fortress, but you can't go anywhere else and get 3 points. And I feel like they've done more of that this season, but it's come at the cost or at the expense of winning matches at home. But bro, 4-0, those first 2 goals they let in, shambolic defending. I didn't know what I was watching. I couldn't even tell if I had never tuned into a La Liga match before, I could not even told you who was the home team, who was the away team. Made no sense to me. They made Espanyol look like a top 6, top 7 club in La Liga. It was crazy, bro. Like the first 2 goals were the worst, but even after that, and of course, even the saves that Joan Garcia was putting in, it just felt like a completely different version of Espanyol. So I'm wondering 2 things. 1, Rayo, what happened? How did it get that bad in the span of 1 game? But 2, Espanyol, where the hell was this all season? Like I refuse to believe it was just Rayo playing like shit. I think Espanyol had a strong game plan coming in as the road team and put it into you know put it into execution in a perfect way, I thought. But at the same time, bro,
Right.
it's like, why are we waiting until match day 30 to start putting in performances like this? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Well,
With
I think they have actually been better as the season's gone on.
yeah,
And I think in this game specifically, I mean, when you score a set piece in like the 10th minute or whatever it was, the gates are going to open and Rayo's going to have to go for it. And then Rayo, instead of responding, just like continued to fold. But I think
they
there's
were bad. They were bad.
two players for Espanyol who I think don't get enough love. One's very obvious. Javier Puado, the left winger, career season for Espanyol this year. He's got 10 goals, 2 assists. That is by far his best ever GA output in the top flight. I think he had 17 GA in the Segunda Division a couple years ago, but this is his best ever goal output in La Liga. And we got 8 games to go. So he could be pushing 15 GA. An Espanyol player on 15 GA is ridiculous. And another guy who I don't think gets talked about enough, but I remember him from both Atleti games, but especially the last one, where I thought he was quite good. And I thought he was incredible against Real Madrid. Omar El Hilali, the young Moroccan right back, 21 years old, has not debuted for Morocco yet, but I don't really think that's too much to hold against him, considering he's behind Achraf Hakimi and Mezrahi. So they're just absolutely stacked at the right back. But I think this guy looks like a future stud. He looks like a Moroccan John Adambodu to me. Just like very good defending. I'm not sure what if his offensive repertoire is, because Espanyol never attack. That's what's so mind-boggling about this result is you're right. Rayo made Espanyol look like a proper attacking side. It looked like Brighton out there. It was ridiculous.
It's crazy, bro.
But I think he's one to watch. And I think Espanyol, they got to hold on to him. I don't know if he's an academy kid. I have no idea what his background is. But I think he's been a very, very top player. And Morocco are just stacked. As an African side, completely stacked.
El Hilali, too, he's somewhat young. Was he 20, 21 years
21.
old? Something along those lines? 21? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, pretty young. And I actually seen him play a couple times. Obviously, when Barca plays against Espanyol, a lot of fans may not pay attention, but I do because I absolutely cannot stand that club with any ounce of my being. And he is decent. Adam Badu, that comparison is that's some good praise right there. There's also a lot to live up to. I actually rate Adam Badu heavily, and I think that the only other player outside of those two that you mentioned that I think stands out in a big way that will probably not be with Espanyol next season no matter what is their keeper. Joan Garcia is probably going to move on. It'd be crazy if he ends up in the Premier League or elsewhere. But I don't see him
some big saves in this
game.
Yeah,
he made some crazy saves. Yeah, he had a big game. I think he's honestly, bro, Espanyol, to me, I was predicting them to move down and get relegated again when the season started. You and I had that conversation back and forth. I think he's been a massive reason as to why they haven't. Nothing against the attack, Fernandez, Boado, all those guys kind of putting in work and scoring, I think, some key goals and moments against some of the bottom half of the table that's allowed them to be at that point. But I think Joan Garcia has been huge, and I'm willing to bet. I want to make this bet now. If he moves on and they don't find a way to backfill him in a meaningful way, I don't know if Espanyol stays up again next season. I just don't see it happening.
I would say their biggest strength next season, and this is why I backed them this season, is they just got the experience of these dogfights, right? I'm looking at some of these other teams, Las Palmas, who I'm about to transition to. They don't know how to get down and dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something about a Sean Dyche-led team where it's like, all right, we're just going to fight tooth and nail. It might not work every single time, but we're going to be in this until the last match day, unlike teams like Valladolid, who are an embarrassment to Spanish football after losing 4-0 to Getafe. And I think that experience, once again, the fact that, like, all right, we're just comfortable. We're comfortable in our environment, which is very Getafe-esque as well. They're very comfortable. They don't care that people think they play ugly football. They don't care. They're just like, hey, that's our identity. We're going to go out and ball. You know what I'm saying? We're going to do it our way. So I think that's always going to be an advantage Espanyol have versus, these Alaves, these Las Palmas, Valladolid. They don't have any tenure of surviving. These guys go up and then go back down immediately for fun. They're like Southampton. They just don't have a spine.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Oh, yeah, go. No, you say what's crazy.
No,
I got something crazy as hell. So you say you're crazy first because I think my crazy is crazier.
Yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, it is like there's some merit to that. I agree with that, but still, it's just kind of crazy that the fan base has to be along for that ride every damn season. And like I'm telling you, 16th place, like you mentioned, is actually a huge W for the 5% of the Barcelona as a city population who support Espanyol as a club. This is going to be the peak for them to an extent, and next year they're hoping they can do it all over again. I just could not imagine having to endure that year after year.
So I mentioned earlier, Sociedad beat Las Palmas 3-1 at Las Palmas. When do you think Las Palmas' last win was?
The last win Las Palmas had, bro, it was against Barcelona. I'm willing to bet.
It might have been against Barcelona. I don't actually remember who the opponent was, but it was Christmas.
Bro, we have to look this up.
April 6th. It is April 6th, and their last win was Christmas. That insane, bro. Is insane.
Hold on. If this is no, thank God it's Espanyol, bro. If it was Barcelona,
okay. Mind, it was actually a couple days before Christmas. It was the 22nd. But goddamn, are you serious?
It was the holidays when they beat Barcelona. It was right after Thanksgiving. I was about to cry.
Dude, they're coming up on 100 days without a win.
Yeah. And you know what, man?
In the middle of the season.
And you and Michael have still been impressed with them at points throughout this year. No?
Attacking wise, yes. But I mean, goddamn, they can't keep a clean sheet to save their lives.
Nah, bro, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, losing 4-0 to Elche. Keep in mind, losing 4-0 to Elche in the Copa del Rey might have been the biggest slamming when you think about all of the L's they've taken along the way between December and today. Losing 4-0 to Elche might be the cherry on top. It's kind of wild. But I mean, look, some of these games are close though. If you look at them, they're actually not. They haven't gotten absolutely smoked by anybody outside of maybe Real Madrid 4-1. But like,
yeah,
they held it up against Barca. They looked good for a full half in that game. But bro, some of these they just can't hang on. Even Girona, bro. Even Girona had their number, beat them 2-1 at home.
Yeah, that can't happen. Like look at these results, man. They're scoring in they score in every game except Barca 2-0. And yeah, that Elche just absolute dunking. They cannot keep a clean sheet. And
but they have some gems in that team, though.
Yeah, but if they lose Fabio Silva, who they might have to if they go down, they might not be able to afford to keep him. I mean, Sandro Martinez, if he leaves, I don't know why he would. That one's very unlikely. He's probably going to stay. But Fabio Silva, a young player, he's probably going to be like, I don't want to be here anymore. That's tough, man. I wonder. I have no data to support this whatsoever. Okay, I'm pulling this theory out of my ass. But I wonder if them being like an island team translates to no home field advantage, which is a massive disadvantage when you look at fortresses like Espanyol and Rayo and Celta at home, where it's like you just never, ever, ever want to go play those away days because the environment's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a thought.
Maybe. I mean, the Canary Islands, I've never been. I hear are beautiful. And I'll never hit on Las Palmas because at the end of the day, they sold us Pedri for next to nothing. So, shout out Las Palmas. Yeah, I think Fabio Silva and San. Yeah. I hope they stay up, even though they did beat us once this season. That one hurt. Fabio Silva, the tormentor, I think. Look, he could leave. Sandro could leave. And while it's still while they may miss the goals and the offensive output that they get from those two guys, I still don't think it makes that much of a difference with where Las Palmas ends up at the end of the season. It's just unfortunate, man. As long as I've been a La Liga fan, Las Palmas has never been a contentious team. They'll work their way into 15th, 14th, 13th place, and that's pretty cool. But like, that's the highest we've ever really seen them. I think it's just, and I don't want to say this is just where they're destined to be as long as you're a supporter of this club. I don't believe that. They've produced some real gems along the way. And I've also had some pretty decent coaches and managers along the way as well, who've used their time at Las Palmas to be a springboard. But I mean, this is who they are, bro. This is who they are.
Yeah. I mean, you can't be conceding that many goals every single game and already be a weaker La Liga side and expect to stay up, right? No. Like they were where they were in the table because other teams were flopping, right? And as soon as other teams kind of cleaned up their bedroom a little bit, Las Palmas got exposed. One of those teams being Valencia, who beat Real Madrid 2-1 at Madrid. Do you know the last time Valencia won away?
Hold on. There's got to be minimum a decade. Minimum.
It is
Man,
minimum
almost 20 years. Yeah, I would say almost 20 years probably. Something stupid.
It was 2007 when David Villa, David Silva, and Juan Mata were on the team.
Bro, shout out that version of Valencia, man. Shout out that version of Valencia.
Yeah, that was goated Valencia.
Yeah.
That was a really, really fun team. A really fun decade, honestly. Just RIP what happened to those guys. But they look like they're coming back a little bit. I was looking at their results all time under their new manager. 16 games in charge, 8 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses. This is all comp. So this is including the Copa del Rey games. Their 4 losses are this. In the last 16 games, this is Valencia, who were in the relegation zone the entire season. The last 16 games, these are their 4 losses. Barcelona twice, Atleti, Real Madrid. That's it. They haven't lost to anybody else.
That is the version of Valencia we expected years ago, right? That is the version we've been used to seeing for the majority of our lives as Liga fans. Recent history, man, has been very, very difficult for this club. But just like you bet on Espanyol at the beginning of the season, I didn't make a bet on Valencia. I probably should have. But I was rooting for them to stay up. It feels like any Prem fan who's rooting for Everton to not go down at the end of every season. They're one of the I don't want to say the founding
Story
clubs,
teams.
right? But yeah, the OGs, bro. OGs at the end of the day. You want them to continue to stay up. Hugo Duro, man. I've been a fan of this guy. I kind of was clowning him a little bit at the beginning of the season with some of the results that were coming in. He just wasn't showing up. But, bro, they sub him in this game. He gets that winner. Telling you, man, I'm not going to say he's this young striker, young, promising. He's 24, 25. He's actually like in his prime. But I feel like he doesn't get that type of hype. I feel like fans still feel like he's still kind of a young, promising prospect. And I loved watching him. I loved watching him at points throughout this season. I think he was relegated to the bench because the production just wasn't there. So to see him come off the bench in this one to have that kind of impact, bro, I'm obviously being a Barcelona fan. I was all smiles. I felt like we were playing with house money going into our game. We'll talk about that one. But, bro, this one was tough. Let me ask you this. Looking at this game, was it a bigger fumble by Real Madrid, or considering what the flowers we've given Valencia over the last, 16 games you mentioned, was it more them stepping up?
Well, Vinicius misses a penalty, right? Mm-hmm. So you cannot downplay the effect that would have had on the match. I don't think Real Madrid were really that good. I didn't think it was a terrible game from them, though. Like, I thought Mamardashvili made some pretty good, pretty important saves in this game. I thought Vinicius was pretty bad, but I thought Jude was pretty solid. I thought Mbappe was solid. And maybe Brahim Diaz, he was a little quiet as well. I mean, really, if you think about it, Real Madrid get dunked on off a corner, right? They haven't really been that good at defending set pieces this season, which is why it pissed me off so much when Atleti didn't really threaten them at all in the Champions League from set pieces, because they pretty much have Antonio Rudiger, and that is it. And ironically, Rudiger gets beat for this corner. Yep. So you score a penalty, or you score off a corner kick. Real Madrid miss a penalty. And then I think just like I don't know if it's what Tchouaméni's doing. He gets caught flat-footed. I think this is a consequence of him not being a natural center back. Yep. It's a lob ball over top. David Alaba's sprinting his ass off to try to get back, but he doesn't have the pace after 17 surgeries. God bless him. And it's a great ball, stomping header from Hugo Duro. Game. I mean, I don't know. I didn't feel like Valencia were offensively that threatening at all, but they took their chances. Real Madrid didn't. And that's that. You know, yeah. I don't really think this is like a doomsday thing for Real Madrid, although after the Real Betis keeping a point against Barcelona, it was a huge opportunity, and Real Madrid will feel like idiots for that.
Yeah. I don't think it's doomsday for Real Madrid yet. Here's the thing. I feel watching this game and watching the reactions unfold after, I think I thought to myself, trying to put myself in the fan shoes from a Madrid standpoint. Madridistas are probably feeling like we're not doomsday yet. We're not ringing the alarms just yet, but you have a feeling that this can lead into something negatively.
Yes.
Especially when you think about how Rudiger got beat on the set piece on the corner. That leads into a very big Champions League match at the midweek against a team who is notorious for making set pieces worth it. And you have to be asking yourself, if you're a Madrid fan, does this turn into a negative snowball? Right. And if you start seeing the same level of, I guess for lack of a better word, I'll call it capitulation. If you start seeing that type of capitulation on that level, right? The one competition that you outright own, that you feel like you almost had this divine right to as a Madrid fan, as a player of that club. What happens then? Where is their mental then? Are they then thinking, okay, there's a real possibility that in the span of a few months, we went from being favorites for the double to potentially now being trophyless. And we may not walk away with anything this season in the year where we were supposed to take everything with the likes of Mbappe joining. So I don't know, man. To me, it's like the start of that conversation. And I'd be really, really curious to hear what Madrid fans think about that.
Yeah, and what's ironic about that is you would think walking into this season, Hansi Flick being the new guy, nobody really knew what to expect from that appointment. I don't think anybody thought it was going to be awful, but nobody foretold of this level of success versus Real Madrid. You make the Mbappe signing. I don't even need to expand on that any further. That's a massive statement. That is the one that they've been chasing for years. 5 years they've wanted this guy. They finally got him on a free, and it's supposed to be the greatest attack of all time. And then you got Atletico, who opened up the bank account this summer and made some big splashes. 4 big names: Gallagher, Sorloth, Julian, and Lenormand. Big signings. And the irony in this is that the two Madrid teams, who got all the PR, all the spotlight, could end with 0 trophies. I think the doomsday starts after the Arsenal game. Because, dude, if they win that game like 1-0, I think Real Madrid fans are thinking like, uh-oh.
The timeline's on
like
fire.
The timeline's on fire. We now have a must-win game at home. We already have our bogey team in the Copa del Rey final. All right, so we're not favorites in that. And we're, 4 points behind Barca now? 67, 62?
Yep.
Or 60? Is it 5 points?
Yeah, it would, as of today, it's 4. But imagine, right? Okay. You think about trying to slow down the most informed team probably in Europe, and again, right?
You were PSG.
Yeah. Again, you think about just what's coming up after
Dream final.
Yeah, dream final. Just think about the snowball that's possible. Okay, let's say Arsenal steal something at the Emirates. Okay, that by itself, when Arsenal are having the season that they're having, for full context, right? They're not going to have guys like Gabriel. Saka's just got back from their own injury. There's no main striker. If they take down this version of Real Madrid with this version of Arsenal, it's going to be insane. And I say that because I feel like if Arsenal was at full strength, everybody on the roster good to go, it's weird to say, but Madrid would have a little more of an excuse. It's like, okay, doesn't matter what the first leg happens, as long as they come back to the Bernabeu and win, all's forgiven. But I don't think that's the case if they lose to this version of Arsenal, even if it's away. And then after that, put Alaves to the side. You get the second leg against Arsenal. You get Athletic Club. You get Getafe on the road, and then we have Barca in the Copa. Like, things can unravel very, very quickly. And I'm not sitting here as a Barca fan saying that this is going to happen. I just remember, as someone who also supports Arsenal in the Premier League, I remember what it was like to get ready for that Bayern Munich Champions League game, and how losing that game created this snowball where it's like the players feel like, okay, we dropped that one. We can't, there's so much pressure to not drop another one. And then you don't get max points. And then that just starts to really kind of build on itself negatively. It feels like some of that is happening in real time with Real Madrid.
Right, especially for a club in the unique situation where if you end the season with 1 trophy, it's a failure. Yeah. I mean, not many clubs say that. I would say the only club that has more of a demand for trophies every single season from their fan base is Bayern Munich. Where Bayern win one trophy, nobody cares. The fans don't. That's a horrible season for Bayern Munich. You just win the league or you just win the Pokal. That's a massive L. If Real Madrid just win the Copa, not a single Real Madrid fan is satisfied.
You could say PSG too, maybe. Like again, right? If they win the domestic double, nobody's impressed. Yeah. Nobody's impressed.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I would say those are the same. I just, bro, like even the French league, it was like it didn't even exist for a second in my head. And I mean that with all due love to the 5 Frenchmen watching this episode.
But think about from Madrid standpoint, right? Like the only thing that would save this season, I guess you could say, and we're not in that dire point just yet, but the only thing Madrid fans would forgive in a single trophy season would be the Champions League. If they win Champions League and nothing else, it's like, okay, that's kind of what we expected. Yeah, it's back to back. You know, we're even keel. Make up excuses, right? Mbappe needed time to kind of get grounded. Sure, next season we're going to win everything. I could see a lot of positivity around that. Outside of that scenario, I don't see it.
Yeah, and we have done a video about the La Liga MVP rankings and the Ballon d'Or rankings, and there will be updates to that. But if Arsenal knock out Real Madrid and Real Madrid win the league, no Real Madrid player should be top 5 for Ballon d'Or.
I agree. First off, there is no scenario where Real Madrid should lose to this Arsenal team. At least across the 2 legs. At home, traveling to London, again, with set piece FC, sure, maybe, right? There's like an excuse, I guess you could kind of give. Like, okay, maybe they win. But over the course of 2 ties, you have probably the least experienced team in Champions League going up against the notorious and infamous winner. Like, even if Arsenal was good to go, as long as I've watched this game, and yes, magic can happen in this competition. That's why we love it. Real Madrid should never lose to a team like this, right? If you're going to go down in your competition, you go down to someone who's worthy of that, and it should not be Arsenal. And again, it's coming from someone who's an Arsenal fan. I'm respecting the competition and the road laid before them.
No, it would be like losing to Spurs over 2 legs. It's just Real Madrid, again, fair or not, Crimea River, you're not allowed to go out to teams like that.
Yeah, Arsenal has zero history in this competition. Zero history.
Yeah. There's only a couple teams where if you got knocked out by, I'm talking like prime Juventus, Bayern Munich, I don't even think PSG is acceptable. Fans are like, you cannot lose to an injury-ridden Arsenal. And we talked about this, Michael and I, in the quarterfinals prediction for just the La Liga teams, which is out on the channel. It's funny because this is the one team Real Madrid fans can't use the injury excuse against, because Arsenal are the only team that have more injuries than Real Madrid. So it really is the hospital derby kicking off on Thursday. And it's going to be the most watched game, which is crazy. I don't know which one. Are there multiple games on at the same time? Are we doing this again with the quarterfinals? Or can I watch one at a time?
I'm hoping we can watch one at a time, because if it's like if I look at this now and it's the exact same way, bro, I'm gonna.
If it's the same time as Inter Bayern, I'm gonna be pissed.
They are the same time. They're the same time.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Yeah, they're on both at the same time, bro.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, man. Like I just don't understand the logic. I don't understand the logic. But I mean, fuck it. It is what it is.
I think it's for betting purposes or like match fixing. I think that's why it happens at the same time. Somebody told me that once, and I ran with it as the truth. But maybe it's not that at all.
Logically, it would make sense. I'm just saying from the fans' perspective, who wants to see all 4 of these powerhouse teams go at it. This is a terrible setup, bro. But at the same time, I'm going to be probably recording Bayern Inter and just watching that right afterward.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do. But then you know what they love to do there's one broadcaster that does this, and they'll just have the score of the other games just pop down randomly. Dude, it drives me insane. I was watching Liverpool PSG, and I forgot what other game was happening at the same time. I think it was Lille Dortmund, which I had recorded because I wanted to watch it because I thought it was interesting. I thought Lille were going to get the upset. And just like as the game's going on, they're just like, oh, and Jonathan David has scored for Lille. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? This has nothing. Commentate on the game.
Yeah, bro.
Commentate on the game that you're getting paid to talk about. Why are you telling me about what's going on in France? What is wrong with you? It's just like, oh my God. It'd be like, I don't know. I'm watching Game of Thrones, and all of a sudden the dude,
they're catering to the casuals,
in the show,
bro,
tells me what happens at the end of Lost or at the end of Yeah, Rings of Power or some shit. I'm like, I despise you. So you got to be real quick with the mute button, dude. I literally have like my thumb on the mute button as I'm watching. The second I see anything flash on screen, I'm just boom. I'm real quick with it. I look away. It's ridiculous what I have to do to avoid spoilers. I'm put my phone on do not disturb.
Yep.
Because my friends who don't even really watch ball love to text me the score out of nowhere. Love to do it. Yeah.
That's
Or it'll
wild.
be like,
I'll text you with like an eyes emoji. Like something crazy happens. I'm like, hey, you see that shit? That's crazy. But I'll never flat just text you the fucking score. That's weird. I'm like, you probably know what the score is.
nah, dude. My friends will text me and they'll be like, insert team or frauds. And I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, well, that can only mean one thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, I guess we lost today. It's like, oh,
crazy,
God.
bro.
Yeah, I go in 0 dark 30 every single time. World Cup qualifiers, you're not going to hear from me for 2 days. You will not hear from me for 2 days.
That's tippable, bro. I respect the shit out of you for that. I won't go that far, but I'll just get pissed at people for spoiling it for me. I'm like, guys, what the hell are we doing? But this Champions League game again, Real Madrid, bro, they have to shake off all of the chatter that's happening right now. Like I'm telling you, and I asked you this, and we can talk about it now. I asked you this before, we went on air, and we were texting about this, and I feel like it's a valid question, and I want every Real Madrid fan to sound off in the comments because I have no idea how you guys feel. But this season, how it's gone, it has to be one of the biggest roller coasters in recent memory. Is it? I don't know whose fault is this when you think about it, right? Is it Vinny's? Is it Ancelotti's? I don't think anybody can blame Mbappe anymore. I think if the first 2 months we were probably screaming that like this guy's just not good enough. 8 offsides, hardly any goals. Like the team just doesn't look the same. Now he's turned it around. He's in the Pichichi race. So you can't really blame him anymore. Vinny, bro, like multiple missed penalty kicks, not anywhere near the Ballon d'Or year he was having last season. And then, of course, the robbery conversations just, I think, changed everyone's perception of what we're watching on the field with him. But then you have Ancelotti, bro, who has almost no system he plays under. It's almost like any one of us, you or I, could go out there and do the job that he's doing. It's almost just an over-reliance on individual talent. Because I don't see, when he throws in Modric, Arda Güler, Endrick, whatever it may be, I don't see the same. I don't see a resemblance of a system. I just see players out there trying to find a way to use their talents to get the job done. But like, if they go trophyless, I don't know who you blame. And I don't know if Carlos back next season, if I'm being honest.
I feel like managers always take the heat and he will be gone. Because somebody's got to go, right? So instead of creating like a logical response or argument for why the season went how it went, it's easier to just sack the coach. Who's flirting with the Brazilian national team anyways.
But who would you get?
I don't know. You call Zidane again.
Oh, dude, that'd be insane.
You call Tony Cruz. Say, hey, bro, you want to coach? Because if your theory is correct, Jose, anybody could step in and tell the guys to just roll out a 4-3-3 and go.
Yeah.
We don't even need a mastermind. Just bring him in. Bring in an ex-legend again. Call Sergio Ramos. He probably wants to coach the team and play for Rayados at the same time. Run with that.
Yeah,
Run with that. The Vinicius thing, I do have to wrap up kind of soon. And I want to talk about the last 2 games. So I'm going to keep this quick. I think the problem with Vinny is he was never a Ballon d'Or player. He's not good enough to win the Ballon d'Or. He's not on that level. And because of the whole fiasco, he put those expectations upon himself. And it's kind of crushing him. And I have zero sympathy because it was a stupid argument for him to win in the first place. It's a stupid argument for him to be nominated this year. End of story. He's a great player. He's not a Ballon d'Or player. Just stop. There are plenty of players you could plug and drop in that Madrid system, and you're going to get the same goal output. That's the hard truth pill Real Madrid fans don't want to hear because they don't watch other teams. They only watch Real Madrid. They don't even watch Brazil. So they've never even seen Vinny in a different environment than their club. Where, by the way, he has never had mind-blowing numbers. Ever. Ever. So this is your fault. You put this on him. He invited this himself. And now he's like Atlas holding up the globe and it weighs too much. And it's breaking his back. Boo-hoo, so sad. Shouldn't have done it then. Should have kept your mouth shut. Should have played better. Again, that whole Ballon d'Or thing was just annoying. It's like, man, y'all really not watching ball like that. It's crazy. Can we talk about Atleti quickly?
Yes.
So we frauded our way to a 2-1 win versus Sevilla. We did do the double on them, which we don't do. We almost always drop one game against Sevilla. I have one main takeaway from this game. I'm curious what your response is. Julian Alvarez is clearly the best player on the team, and I don't really think it's close.
I agree.
My second takeaway here, this is a bit more doom pessimistic. I have, quote, in any year that Barcelona and Real Madrid are not self-imploding, this version of Atletico will never win the league.
Yes, but that's known. Like, that's true. You're not wrong about that. But that's a ridiculous bar, I think, to compare Atletico Madrid to. And
Winning the league or the two giants?
The two giants. Like, you know, it's again, right? It's like, yeah, historically, it's a ridiculous bar to compare them to. But Atletico, I think in the one-off seasons where they've walked away with trophies, I don't know if I'll agree that both of those teams imploded. Like the most impressive one was 10 plus years ago, 2013, 2014 campaign.
To clarify, I'm saying this version of Atletico. Like how
this
we're
version,
playing now.
version.
Yeah, not every trophy we've ever won.
Okay.
I'm just saying we can't keep playing like we're not going to ever beat a Hansi Flick team.
Like straight up, like actually just compete with them.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of hindsight, but yes, I think if you had made that statement 2 months ago, 3 months ago, it would have been a crazy statement to make. Because Atleti was like legitimately out competing everybody in La Liga. We were calling them the White Walkers on this show. And granted, that's a little bit more of late game heroics.
But why did we call them the White Walkers?
Yeah. But still, I mean, you said it yourself, right? It's a results-oriented business. I don't think anybody had this expectation of Atleti coming into this season. The fact that you guys were performing at this level was pretty damn impressive. And every player on this team, their stock was raised for a good 3 to 4 month chunk of the season. Simeone included as a manager. Yes. Like he kind of got his aura back, if you will. It hasn't been there the last few seasons. He kind of got it back. And he was going toe-to-toe with the defending champion La Liga and the defending European champion who just signed Kylian Mbappe. And this question mark of a Barcelona team that we didn't know what to expect from. Had good players, but had just replaced Xavi Hernandez with Hansi Flick, who in his own right was coming off of a weird stint as a manager. So, like, I don't think either one of those two giants were down bad, and Atleti was at a point this season setting the bar. I just think you ran out of steam. I just think, and you're right. So technically, you are right, but it's just because you couldn't go toe to toe all season long. Like, but there was a point where you guys were the best team in La Liga.
Yeah, it's like we had to pick our opportunity to ball out, and we fired too soon.
Yeah,
and I think even the whole like we gassed out, right? I actually don't think it let the gas out. As a team, I think Simeone does not allow his teams to gas out. What I think actually happened more is in order you're a runner. You were telling me that sometimes you just go bang out 2 miles, right? I'm sure I know you've ran longer distances before. We both have. We all know what, the second wind is, right?
Yeah.
Your legs are hurting, your quads are burning, you kind of want to stop and stretch, but you're going to keep going. And all of a sudden, which I still don't really understand the science, you just feel better. You catch a second wind and you're like, actually, I'm going to destroy this 5K. Oh, actually, I'm going to end this run on a high note.
Yeah.
I think Atleti, we're going to hit our second win, but we lost in the manner we did in the Champions League. And it has been a little ugly. Like, we didn't do a Lengua de la Liga episode last week when we had, last week when we did the Copa del Rey leg 2 of the semifinals. We were shit in that game. We drew Espanyol again. 0 wins against these guys this season. Getafe, points dropped again. It is, I think spiritually we were broken. And so before we hit the second win, I don't know, we tripped on a log or something and face planted.
It was,
and now we're out of the race.
It was Daniel Cormier versus John Jones. Like that, if you watch UFC, right? That's the perfect comparison I will make. Cormier beats everybody except for John Jones. And when he loses, The guy looks more defeated. He looks like he's ready to just simply retire from fighting after that trilogy of fights that we saw between those two guys. And that's what I'll equate to this season. Atleti had a gauntlet of a schedule during all those competitions coming together at one time. So something was probably going to have to give. I don't think your players saw it happening at the expense of the boogeyman again. Like, especially with how the tie started, right? I think it was so demoralizing to go down the manner in which you did to Real Madrid in the Champions League again, that snowball just took off and there was no stopping it. The next few performances after that was all going to be about picking up the pieces. And if they couldn't find a way to mentally get themselves up for those games, now hindsight's 2020, we've seen what happened. But I think that's what it is. I don't think it's a scenario where Atleti were just simply the inferior team. It just felt like it was such a gut punch that they could not bounce back quickly. It was going to take some time to get back to where they were. And the most unfortunate part of that is that the schedule would not allow for that. That it was going to be even more punishing because the time it took to get themselves back up, you just had absolutely monsters of teams that you were going up against, and they were going to take advantage of that through and through. I agree with the Copa del Rey one. I was actually very surprised at how bossed Atleti were as a midfield. Like,
Yeah.
Barca, I mean, it was only 1-0, but Barca were just running circles around them. And it just felt like one team was very tired mentally and physically, and the other team was still up for it. And yeah, man, it was rough to watch. But again, I understood. I think it was just Real Madrid being that team for you guys again, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think this squad has issues with it. And I do want to do a future episode about top signings that every club in La Liga should make, or certainly, the European competing La Liga team should make. So hit subscribe for that. I mean, we didn't deserve to win this game against Sevilla. We barely did anything. We score a penalty, and Pablo Barrios literally just dribbles from the halfway line through the entire Sevilla defense and scores a golazo.
Bro.
At the death.
Is Barrios the most underrated player on your team?
No, the most underrated player on our team is Marcos Llorente.
I think Llorente, to me, is somewhat overrated, in my opinion.
Really? I don't even see his name mentioned.
Well, again, I'm basing off the last few years. Llorente has always kind of been this guy that gets a lot of hype, not just with Atleti, with the Spanish national team as well. Like this utility player that could just kind of you put him anywhere and he's going to be good. He was almost like, and I rate him. Don't get me wrong. At one point he was almost like Atleti's version of Fede Valverde and what he is for Real Madrid. And I actually think this season he's taken a step down. Like I feel like he hasn't been quite as good as he's been in some previous seasons. For me, Barrios gets a lot of flack for the stupid red cards he's gotten. And granted, they've been dumb. Like some of the moments, I'm like, dude, what are you thinking? What are you doing? But I rate Barrios. I would honestly, bro, I would take him at Barca. I really would. I actually rate him heavily, and I thought the goal today came out of nowhere. But I think as a box to box midfielder, I like him a lot, and that's why I was asking. Like I never hear anybody talk about Barrios, and I feel like he's a player that I rate heavily on your squad.
I think his reputation will grow when he just has more years with the team. Llorente is more of a recognizable figure. I think he's probably most infamous for when we knocked out Liverpool away in Anfield. That was kind of like his moment where it was like, who is this guy? Barrios hasn't had that yet. I think he's properly rated as like, top 5 CDM in La Liga. I think he's got a lot of things to work on. I'm going to be shocked if we're going to see many goals like this ever again. Like, this really is not in Barrios' bag. Like, that's what the fact he scored it, I was like, I mean, I'm hyped. This is awesome. But I was like, screw this team. The chance creation shit. Like, Sorloth is out there just like burning a paycheck. It was really a bad game. You could make the argument at the same time that it is De Paul, because I think De Paul's reputation is like he's just a bruiser guy who runs. But his offensive game is extremely underrated. But people think he's just like an engine, right? They're like, oh, he never stops running. Literally, I remember every time I'm in Argentina and I get asked who my favorite player is, either in general or for Argentina, or who I play like. I get that a lot when I'm about to play pickup, and I say De Paul, and they always say, oh, so you run. And I'm like, well, yeah, I run, but like I also, I love the threaded pass. I love a good tackle. De Paul has a much better offensive repertoire than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
So I would say those are probably the two
He's
nominees.
not Pedri. Like he's not he's not
No, he's
technically
not.
gifted enough where he's gonna like squeeze in and out of like 2 or 3 defenders every time. But I agree. I think if people would think he's only an engine, probably only watch him with Argentina. He's that way for Argentina because they have so many ballers ahead of him. He doesn't need to be anything else. He just needs to be the guy, not the destroyer, don't get me wrong, but the in-between, right? He's servicing the ball. He's finding his playmakers, and his playmakers are dribbling, taking everyone on, threading those final balls. But for Atleti, he is much more than what he is for Argentina. And I feel like, yeah, he could be, now that we talk about it, he could be the most underrated player for Atleti. I never hear him get thrown around in those top 10, top 15 midfielder in the world conversations when he should be.
Never. No. People think he's like, people literally think of De Paul and they think he's Messi's bodyguard. It's like the first thing that comes to people's head. Like they think this guy can't ball. They actually do not think he can ball.
But yeah.
He is, yeah. Well, the whole Argentine national team tried touching Messi on the pitch. Like everybody's gonna respond, right?
Yeah.
He's a walking deity amongst the national team.
I would say him and Julian are probably your best players, if we're being honest.
Yeah, they are. They are our best players.
Mm-hmm.
Julian is, I mean, what he's doing right now, dude. He had forced some great saves today against Sevilla, and he's doing it by himself. I'm just annoyed. Griezmann, another ghost show. We don't have time to talk about him now. I mean, it's just been since him and Las Palmas, just since Christmas, it's just been straight freaking down. Let's end with your team. Barcelona 1, Real Betis 1. I don't know if you had a massive takeaway here. I thought it was interesting that you guys didn't beat them in the league this year. I don't know if you attribute that to anything, or again, if this is more of like late season, everybody's tired.
For this game, yes. For the first game, I attributed to naivety on behalf of Hansi Flick. I think he was still figuring out rotations between competitions and maybe didn't give Betis the respect they deserve. Same thing with Osasuna, the 4-1 drubbing at the hand of Brian Zaragoza and everything they pulled off. Same thing, I think, from my perspective. I was less disappointed with this one, the 1-1. I thought Gavi's goal, his take was fantastic. I love seeing him get back up to speed. But, bro, this is my biggest gripe about Araujo. My biggest gripe. It is why he is a center back 3 with Barca. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if he's the captain. He could be one of the most overrated players for Barcelona. And because
are you talking specifically when he plays as a right back? That's what you don't like.
No, as a center back, his athleticism is great. His technical ability, and I include intelligence in that technical ability conversation, because as a center back, that's the majority of what it is. You don't get the ball as much when you're a team like Barca. So technical ability becomes distribution, both short distances and long distances on the pitch. But then on set pieces, are you positioned correctly? With someone as big as he is, are you winning the ball? Are you making sure that you're lined up? And on that set piece that we gave up, he wasn't. As big as you are, bro, you should not be a foot behind the defender or the attacker. You should be a foot ahead of them and winning that ball fairly comfortably. And it blew my mind that's how they got back into the game. Was a mistake by a player who was supposed to be proving to Hansi Flick that he needs to be the starter over Íñigo Martínez. We had to extend Íñigo a year because there's question marks around that. And I don't know, man. I mean, there's just been moments throughout the season when Araujo gets minutes and there's some sort of cheap mistake or cheap goal that we have to pay the price for because of just a momentary lapse or whatever the case may be. Outside of that, I rate Betis. I think that their form in 2025, I think the only team who's actually outpaced them in 2025 in La Liga has been Barca. And so this game was going to be a banger right off rip. I knew that. They took down Real Madrid like a month ago at the Bernabeu. We knew this was going to be a good game. So I'll give them their flowers. Anthony looked pretty good. I think Johnny Cardoso looked really, really good as well. Gucho was getting chances first 5-10 minutes. Like I thought he had a pretty good game all the way around.
He was letting him fly.
Letting him fly. Yeah. So again, I'm not taking anything away from Betis, but I do think that Barca in the first 5 or 10 minutes, do you feel like when you watch them, they just look tired? I feel like they look tired. They weren't even stringing some passes together really that well. Koundé had a few that were just off. I think Frankie just looked a little bit slower because we've asked a lot of him over the last few games. I don't know, man. They kind of just felt tired.
I think you guys have bigger fish to fry than Real Betis, and I think the players knew that. I kind of had the same takeaway as Real Madrid, except I thought Barcelona played better than Real Madrid. Like Jules Koundé, great feet on that one chance. I don't even know who he juked out of the
Oh
stadium.
yeah,
Should have
yeah.
scored. Lamine Yamal has an amazing chance. Should have scored. Like I think Gavi hits the side net on one as well. Wicked deflection. Like this was very different from Betis Part 1. Betis Part 1, y'all were lucky not to lose. Extremely lucky not to lose. This time, you were very unlucky not to win. Now, you could look at Betis and say they didn't have Isco, who's been out of his mind the last 4 months. And that really disappointed me because I want to see these teams at full strength, and Isco makes them better, right? Like Lo Celso, he can be a serviceable replacement. He's not Isco, right? So that was kind of sad to see. So the Betis fans will take solace knowing they got a draw away to the league leaders while Athletic Club and Villarreal tied each other as well, because Betis are in this fight right now. They're in this top 4 push now, and they did it without Isco. They'll feel good about that. And then for Barcelona, you say, hey, we played pretty well, but not good enough. We didn't lose. We got one more point on Real Madrid, extended the gap, keep it pushing. Again, I really don't know if there's too much to say here. On your Araujo point, I just don't think he's Barcelona level, man. He's a freak athlete. I don't know if you just need a freak athlete in the back.
No.
I think you need something a little more complete for Barcelona. I think he's a very good one-on-one defender, and that's about it. I don't think he's got the technical skills that you guys need. And he probably, I don't know what's the best club for Araujo. Probably like I don't know if it's a counter-attacking side. I don't know. Maybe that's a future video we could make. Like, where would he go? Because I know Juventus was a option. I haven't watched them this year. I've not watched Juventus this year. They just sacked their manager. I heard the footy was dead, but I don't want to speak on that because I'm not informed. But it would be a fun exercise to be like, okay, where would he go? Honestly, he's a bit more of an Atleti center back than he is a Barca center back.
I was just gonna say that's crazy. I would say like he fits almost perfectly. Like if I could, like, if we could do a trade, a crazy trade that would favor both teams would be like Araujo for like no bullshit, like Julian, because we wanted Julian a while back. But like almost
why on earth would we ever that's like the worst trade of all time.
No, bro.
Not only is that
we got
10 center backs on the team.
You guys need a Godin regen. I got you. All right, here it is.
Yeah, his name is Christian Romero. We're gonna sign him this summer for play.
No disrespect.
And Romero, if we can't get him, we're getting Omar Alderete from Getafe, who I told you I was a beast. Dude's a freaking beast. Man.
Romero has dropped off a cliff, but on top
he's
of
not
that,
dropped off a cliff.
I don't know, bro. This season he has not looked good. I have not seen the Spurs backline exposed like this.
He's got a different center back next to him every game. He doesn't even know the dude's name who he's playing next to. He looks over and he's like, "Who are you?" And the guy's like, I was promoted from the academy this morning. He's
I don't
know,
bro.
Well,
I watched him give up that goal against Brazil, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is just it feels very anti-Romero. Like it's just again maybe a weird year. But I agree with you. I don't know being on Atleti or someone like that, maybe even a Premier League side, maybe not in Spain. I think Spain's a much more technical league.
Like a West Ham.
Yeah, bro. A team where he can put his physicality on display. That's where he needs to be. I think Barca should cash in on him at some point because it would just also be good business. I know he'll go for a decent amount. And if he went to Juve, bro, him and Bremer might be the most physical center back duo in Europe, or at least one of the most. There's a shout there.
Bremer have a bad injury history as well because Araujo's made of glass. That's why I would never sign him. It's just because I don't know if he's going to play past like 31, 32. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. And Bremer, I think, has had some injuries. I think one of those like a freak injury. So I don't know if I'd go out and say like he's made of glass entirely. But Araujo, man, he's gone back and forth on it. I just think, yeah, I agree with you. He's not a Barca center back. I think we haven't never really had one like him that could offer that level of physical play. Puyol is probably the most physical center back, or Mascherano. Mascherano is probably the most physical center back we probably had in quite some time. And he's just a destroyer in the midfield converted. So, I don't know, man. I think
that's the thing. Way better passer than Araujo could ever be.
Oh, not even close, bro. Night and day. But
Not even close.
the thing about that is he doesn't even have to be that for Barca. He just has to not fuck up in the back. And it's crazy that I'm expecting that moment again to still happen somewhere down the line. He costed us against PSG last season in the Champions League. I don't know what's going to happen against Dortmund, or if we get beyond Dortmund, whoever comes next. I think it's probably Inter. I don't know what happens, but I feel like those moments, I'm almost waiting for them with him. And that's why I'm not going to go out and say Barca, even after this game, yeah, we extended the gap, 4 points now ahead of Real Madrid. Like, if we don't win La Liga, if we don't go as far as we should be going in the other competitions, winning the Copa del Rey, going to at least the semifinal in the Champions League, it's sad to say that I feel like he might be a reason why at some point or another. I'm kind of just waiting for it at this point.
I just think he's overrated. I don't think he's a bad player, but his reputation was literally built off the one tie you guys had against Real Madrid where he defended Vinny well. And it's like the internet just took slide tackle images from that game and ran with it like Araujo's the greatest defender in Europe or he's a top 5 center back. Bro, he ain't. He's not that for Uruguay. He's not that for Barca. And so he's a good player, but it's just not enough. He hasn't really
it was the
gotten better, I feel like.
Yeah. I think it was the 1 year with Xavi, though. I think in that season that you're talking about, it was both of those games against Real Madrid where he locked him down. And then it was the 13, what was it, 13, 14 games Barca won like 1-0, where we got clean sheets, and that's not really our style. We tend to be a team that just simply outscores the opponent. So I think it was a combination of those things. Like, oh my God, we never had a team with this many clean sheets, and he's at the forefront of it all. And he's locking down Vinny, playing right back when he's a center back. And you could just see how this fan base, who already tends to get overhyped as it is, just picks it up and runs with it. But yeah, man, I've never gone full in, and maybe I'm just, again, too much of a skeptic, right? Like, I've never gone full in on Araujo. I've always said, to me, technically he's very overrated, and it gets covered up by how physical he is. And we're still seeing that in 2025.
I think very simply, a lot of people really struggle to assess center backs. They just don't know, because it's kind of harder to look at the stats because they can be very deceiving. So I think people just see like, oh, this is a big strapping lad, top 5 center back in Europe. And it's like,
That's crazy.
No, he's just an athlete. He's a very athletic player, like a freak of nature. I forgot, what is his nickname? Is La Montaña de something. La Montaña de some area in Uruguay.
Yeah, maybe. I cannot tell you.
Montaña de Peñarol or something like that. So he's the mountain. Literally, they call him the mountain.
Yeah.
He's a freak.
He is a freak, bro. Don't get me wrong. But if you want to see good, like, bro, go back. And again, I know he's excelled, or he's scaled up his abilities a little bit since then. He's evolved as a player slightly. But I think if you want a good, like, is he a top 5 center back comparison? Go back to the 22-23 season in the group stages of the Champions League when Barca went down both games to Inter. Go look at that. Bastoni versus Araujo, and just watch what they do on the ball, off the ball. I remember screaming at my television saying, this is what a fucking center back does versus what Araujo was doing at that time. Just go back and watch it. Let me know what you guys think.
There might be an argument that center backs are the one position where the club they play for determines their reputation the most.
That's crazy, but you're right. That's a crazy shout, but I'm trying to think of someone that's not true for.
Because I'm thinking about it this way. Who are the top center backs that aren't at big clubs? Like, people don't even really know them that much. They're just like, oh, yeah, the best center backs in the Prem are Van Dijk, Konate, Saliba, Gabriel. I'm like, wait, so you're just saying the center backs for like the biggest clubs, right? You're not, nobody.
Lengua de la Liga is the only show that has mentioned one, and that is Dani Vivian from Bilbao.
Correct.
But even then, they're top 4. I would say we've been giving him his flowers all the way through, and no one really talks about him being a top center back in Europe, but he definitely is.
Definitely is.
Yeah.
He definitely. I mean, Omar Alderete. I mentioned his name like 6 times on the show. Plays for goddamn Getafe, right? That dude's a stud. But it's very rare that you'll see a casual championing for a center back at like Brentford, right? Or at Everton. It's just very, very rare you're going to see somebody make a shout for. Like, I love LaCroix from Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
I think he's a top 5 center back in the Prem this season. But you're just not going to really see shouts like that because, well, it's his first year. And sure, maybe we don't have enough of a sample size since he came over from Germany. But I look at that guy and I'm like, hey, he ain't really making any mistakes. He's a great defender. He can pass. I think he's top 5, type thing. But you're always just going to see the Arsenal, the Man U. Bro, people thought Lisandro Martinez, because he played for Manchester United, was a top center. I'm not kidding. I remember the tweets. I remember the videos.
There are fans still saying
the rankings.
Yeah, there are fans still saying that.
Because he plays for Manchester United. That is their data point. Why is he the best? Well, he plays for Man U. Why is Araujo the best? Well, he's on Barcelona. It's like, dude, he's probably the third best. He is the third best center back on that team. He is worse than Inigo and worse than Kubarsi.
And even that's debatable because there are times, no bullshit, I'm not even trolling. There are times where I will prefer Eric Garcia over Araujo. Not even kidding.
I'm going to let you fight the Barca fans alone in that one.
I'm not even joking. And Hansi Flick has reinforced that with his own selections in the last couple of months. There's just times where you need a true baller, someone who actually knows how to pass the ball, how to distribute, how to find midfielders between the spaces. Bro, I'm not gonna lie, I'm holding my breath half the time with Araujo. I'm hoping to God he finds the right man. Eric Garcia can do that. And so the only player I think across Europe in recent times, I think maybe contradicts the argument a little bit. It's only during transfer windows. Something to keep in mind, right? When certain center backs get their love, like Brandt Waite from Everton. But again, he gets the love because United fans are screaming for the club to sign him. Right. So and then it's like, oh, he's the most underrated center back of all time.
But he's also
English. Yes.
There we go. Okay, I rest my case. Guys, we're going to go ahead and end the episode there because your boys got to get going and start making some dinner. So we hope you enjoyed this recap of La Liga match day 30. The whole squad will hopefully be back for the next episode. So if you guys like the Spanish Top Flight, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow me and Jose on social media. Links in the description. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed and share the podcast with a friend if you're listening on streaming platforms. We appreciate you guys for watching and we'll see you.